Hello, Ray Phoenix here, and welcome to Let's Play Mega Man 6 Part 3. So now there's only 3 more Robot Masters left to take on. So now next one we're gonna take on is Yamato Man. We're going to Japan, or at least I think he's from Japan. He's supposedly named after a Japanese athlete that won some kind of sporting event in the year this game was released. We're seeing in the background the nice Japanese vista scenery landscape with the nice Japanese architecture and those snowy mountains, and we're coming against high-tech Japanese robotic technology, which is pretty much most of the enemies in this game, since pretty much all the enemies in this game are like robots that are like really high-tech. And look at this right here, it's a deviation from the main path, the main route we're expected to take. We could take this route easy by using Power Mega Man, where we can Falcon punch down enemies and punch down cracks in those walls or blocks, whatever those are. We're not as maneuverable, of course, and we can't slide over, but it's a really powerful weapon we have here. We can downright punch down all of our enemies easy, kind of like we're in some of those NES games where you can like punch down enemies and stuff. Even some early Genesis games like that too. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I know there are some games that are like that. So we're going after a mini-boss here, a pretty pointless mini-boss where all he does, he's just riding some sort of frog thing, some Japanese samurai warriors just throwing bombs at us from a frog. Doesn't really make any sense at all. But since when did mini-bosses in Mega Man games ever make any sense? Maybe they're predicting trends in the future, since these trends change on a dime all the time, and this game is supposedly set sometime in the future. Whether it says exactly when, it just says 2000XX, meaning sometime probably in as early as 2010, or possibly even later. It never really says a specific year. I don't even think they knew specifically what year it was, which is why it says 2000X. And of course, and look at that, there's another deviation, but this time you use the Jet Mega Man, like the rush jet of this game, Mega Man, to get through there. There's a useless enemy up there that pretty much serves no purpose at all. It's very easy to get around that without getting hit. And what's the point of that? You just stands there and does nothing. This thing's kind of pointless. Actually, this thing actually is one of the more this is one of the enemies that actually has a purpose in this level. So he just stands there and he throws his spear at us. Yamato spear. That's the weapon we're getting for this game. Yamato Man's a very spear-based weapon. And look at that, it's another Slinky. It's another Slinky type enemy. We saw something very similar to that in one of the Cossack stages in Mega Man 4, only this one's a bit more advanced, because it's Mega Man 6 now. We're a few years into the future now, where technology has, changed quite drastically. Technology improves on a dime all the time. And when I first bought the phone I'm using right now, it was running Android 12. Now the Android technology's improved, and now it's Android 13, which is installed onto my phone, which is what I'm using to record this right now, which it seems exactly the same as Android 12. I haven't noticed any significant differences at all. Is there a difference between Android 12 and Android 13? That I have no idea. So here's the Yamato Man, he's almost dead. We could easily kill him with Tomahawk Man's weapon. Yeah, for some reason Tomahawks destroy Japanese or these weapons. I don't know if that's a few reference to something or not. American technology. They're like saying American technology, or it's supposedly supposed to be American-made technology, is supposedly better than Japanese technology. You're trying to mock like, oh, no wonder why it failed. It says made in Japan on it. Yeah, Japan makes all the best stuff. Great Scott, what has become of the future? Kind of like that. So we got the BT parts, and we got the Y spear, the Yamato spear, the Yamato Man's weapon. It's one of the better weapons this game. It's still a pretty useless weapon. Now, most of the weapons in this game aren't that great. But I think at this point they thought, people that play this game already is kind of easy as is. People that play this game are going to just be using the regular Mega Buster 99% of the time anyways. What's the point in putting good weapons in the game? We're just going to be using the Mega Buster most of the time. As there's a 1-up here we could easily get. So now we're going to Nightman stage. This level is supposedly set in England or somewhere like that, where the Knights of the Round Table supposedly were, where we had King Arthur. I think Capcom actually made a game about that called Knights of the Round. I remember playing the SNES version of that in a video I made 2 years ago. It's not as good as the arcade version. The arcade version I think is by far the best version of Knights of the Round. It's a classic Capcom game, and it makes sense in my referencing it again because it's also made by Capcom. Mega Man often does reference other Capcom properties, such as Street Fighter sometimes. I think they reference Street Fighter in Mega Man X and Mega Man X2. I can't remember if it's any I know in the next game, Mega Man 7, there's a reference to ghosts and goblins. Other than that, I can't really think of an awful lot of explicit references to other Capcom games in Mega Man. People often forget that Mega Man is a Capcom property for that reason, or people often forget that those are Capcom properties. And people often mistake Pac-Man as being a Capcom character, despite the fact that Pac-Man came out in 1980, which was actually about 3 years before Capcom was supposedly founded. There's no way they could have made Pac-Man. At least people seem to think they're the maker of Pac-Man. Namco made Pac-Man. Capcom made more sophisticated games right from the start. Not simple games like Namco, but then again, Namco is a lot more famous than Capcom, because in the gaming world, simpler often is better. Simple games often become the more classics like Pong, Pac-Man, Breakout, and then what else is it? It's like Space Invaders, and then there's Galaxian, and all those games, all those simple games seem to have become legendary classics, and yet more sophisticated games that came at the time don't seem to stand out as much. There were games like QDQ. QDQ was another really early Namco title, like one of their very early from the late 70s. It's a good game. It's almost like Breakout mixed with pinball almost. It was a really good game, but for some reason it never caught on, never became a big hit. Probably because it is quite complex for what games are capable of for the time, and those games don't seem to maybe that's why these later Mega Man games have become a bit more complex. Maybe that's why they're not as big classics, they're not as well liked as some of the earlier Mega Man games. Because maybe that's why maybe they're more, they're... And then there's people who don't like Twisted Metal 4 as much because they say the controls are atrocious and that they added so much new, add so much new stuff in the game, and adding new stuff in the game is always make it better. I mean, I never liked Wipeout 3 as much as Wipeout XL for that reason, because Wipeout 3 added so many features and so much stuff, but I find they kind of compensated that with making the game less visually appealing, and the game did feel a little bit slower compared to Wipeout XL, so everything seemed lacking. But ever since I discovered Wipeout 3 Special Edition, which is the definitive version of Wipeout 3, I never say stuff like that anymore about Wipeout 3. Wipeout 3 Special Edition is the best version of Wipeout 3 there is, and so there's never deviation we take. I think we use the power of Mega Man to destroy those spike things that ride on the floors. I think we're about to demonstrate it right here, you see. Yeah, I could. Power Mega Man can destroy. I know there's usually some kind of weapon that destroys those floor robot things, those floor spike robot things. Even Mega Man 1 had that, where you just use a Lek-Man's weapon or Cut-Man's weapon to destroy those things that slide on the floor. Even Fireman's weapon that could be used. I'm kind of thinking, I think a lot of weapons in Mega Man 1 could be used to destroy those things on the floor. So it's time we take on Nightman. We're going to use a Japanese Yamato Spear against the English Nightman. He's a knight in shining armor. I wonder if the Queen actually gave him knighthood. If we still have the Queen in this year, I don't know, maybe we'll have some other monarch or something like that in the future, whatever year it's supposed to be. Keeps throwing his mace around. I'm not even sure if they have that term. I know in Australia they don't have that term mace. In Australia, mace is... Well, actually, yeah, that is a mace. That is a mace in Australia. And that's all mace is in Australia, is those kind of weapons. Mace is never used, a term used for pepper spray in Australia, which is why when someone was reading about Chris Chan's GameStop fiasco, and it said he maced a GameStop employee, they were like, whoa, did he actually take like that kind of knight's weapon or something like that and then actually used it on a GameStop employee? But nah, they were disappointed when they saw the outcome. And so that Nightman is gone. There's this one more robot master left, Centaur Man. I think we're going to Greece or somewhere like that next. He probably does come from Greece in an ancient, it says ancient city, so he probably comes from like an ancient Greek city. Only this doesn't look like ancient Greece at all. I don't know, maybe it's like city, maybe we're so far into the future that even modern cities now are starting to be considered ancient. For some reason they started building them in Greece again, or maybe it's just like the result of some Greek protests. Where there's a lot of protesting going on in Greece. Is this game supposed to be resulting of that? I don't know, maybe they're predicting some sort of, Greece becoming some political, I don't know, some Greece becoming some sort of political turmoil or something in the future. Is this game, I don't know, maybe I'm probably overthinking all this stuff. Or we're gonna go underwater. There's a lot of water in this level, and Rush Marine is still gone from this game, which is good, because Rush Marine was mostly pointless. It probably would be very pointless in a level like this, too. The game would also become a shmup if they did something like that. We don't even have Rush Jet or Rush Coil anymore in this game, so... And of course, this level obviously did take a lot of inspiration from Bubble Man Stage. It is very similar to Bubble Man Stage with their spikes. It's pretty much a rule in Mega Man that if you're going to make a water level like this, or a level where Mega Man spends most of the time under the water, you need to put spikes on the ceilings, on the floors, pretty much everywhere you go. It's a rule. It's like a well, I'm not sure if it's de facto or not, but it's definitely a well-accepted rule. And now this part doesn't even make any sense at all. It's like the water's being pulled towards the ceiling. I don't know, did Starman or Gravity Man from Mega Man 5 have anything to do with this? There's water. This could have been used in Gravity Man Stage in Mega Man 5. Almost like a lost art too, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they weren't thinking about that. They made Mega Man 5. Because this part definitely does defy what we believe in physics, or how our physics seems to work. And so I think there's those things again. We saw those in Flame Man Stage. Those can easily be destroyed if our Mega Buster charged Mega Buster shot, like a fully charged Mega Buster shot knocks them over. Oh, look at that, Eddie's here again. Let's see if Eddie's gonna give us something good. Oh, E-Tank, thank you, Eddie. Eddie's really generous in Mega Man 6. It's the most generous we'll ever see Eddie in any Mega Man game ever. Eddie does pretty much nothing in the subsequent Mega Man games that come after this. Eddie was only really at his best in Mega Man 4, 5, and 6. Especially Mega Man 6 is when he was at his absolute best. But then afterwards, he just got worse and worse. Heck, he's completely redundant in Mega Man 7. And even in Mega Man 8, we don't really see him do anything at all. So he is kind of a useless robot, just a useless robot on two legs, and just stands there and does nothing but take up space in Dr. Light's lab. If you need a robot that takes up space, well, then Eddie would definitely be, you're a perfect robot for that job. And so there's another deviation right here. There's a boss door right there, but we can only get to it if we use the Jet Mega Man, which you just do. He's right there. It's time to take on Centaur Man, and for some reason Centaur Man's weakness is Nightman's weapon. I guess the logic here is that you're using like a spiky ball on a chain, using it against some centaur. It's really large, and you're gonna be beating him up, I think, maybe. I don't know. That's the only logic I can think of behind these. He makes himself disappear, reappear. He can freeze time, just like Flash Man in Mega Man 2, and yeah, he pretty much is just like Flash Man in Mega Man 2. He's even weak against a seemingly similar weapon, a sharp weapon. I don't know, our time stopper weapon enemies in Mega Man games always, well, Bright Man was like that too in Mega Man 4, and Bright Man wasn't weak against a spike-type weapon. He was only weak against the Acid Rain. That's because he was a light bulb, I think, and Acid Rain supposedly rots away light bulbs because it's probably thin and fragile, make him break. That's the logic they use there. So now we finally got all the Beat parts now, so we have Beat fully assembled, and we have Centaur Flash now, which is just like Flash Man's weapon for Mega Man 2, or Bright Man's weapon from Mega Man 4. It works that same way. This is Ray Phoenix signing out.